Hey, it's me, Angela. So I realized that I hadn't done an additional update for Vienna, and I should because I packed a lot into the last day that I was there. So if you haven't watched the video um, leading up to this, I was checking out of my Airbnb in Vienna, and I was pretty much going to have the whole day to just do whatever until my night train was going to leave around 9:30. I knew because I had a sleeper car that I could actually sit in the lounge, and the lounges at train stations are really only for first class or VIP or some kind of special card holders, depending on the train line. Since each country has, I shouldn't say each country, but there's several different companies. This one, if you had a sleeper train, um, sleeper cart, not couchettes. More on that, I'm sure, on another time. Um, you could be in the lounge up to 90 minutes before your train departed and 90 minutes after your train arrives. So I knew approximately 8 o'clock I could just hang out in the lounge, get Wi-Fi, charge a few things, get a snack because they have some light snacks and beverages. So pretty much from 10:30 on to 8, I had to figure out what to do. So I decided I'm not carrying all my stuff, obviously. So what I ended up doing was going back to the train station. Just to give you an idea, I was just a 10-minute walk from really the centralized everything that I was going to go to, and more like a 30-minute walk from the central train station. So I did end up taking public transit because I still had some time left on the card I had gotten the day before. I had met some people in the free walking tour group that I took, and one of them, her and I, we went around the city on public transit. So I had gotten a 24-hour card, and I still had time on it. So I decided to take public transit to Central Station because it went straight there. So I go to the luggage lockers. There we go. Which for OBB, that is the company that I did the night jet train through. It was €2 for kind of your average size locker, and it fit all my stuff in it. I did have to put my pack sideways, but just €2 for 24 hours. And then you get a ticket, and you need that ticket to open the locker back up. So I stick everything in there. I'm like, oh, so much better. So by that point, it was like a little past 11. I walked around the train station, tried to get an idea of where I needed to go for my night jet. Not that any of that information was posted yet. But I just want an idea of where I need to go, where the lounge was, that kind of thing. And then I decided to do my little McDonald's moment there because there was one right there at the train station. And I was hungry. So there we go. That was easy enough. And then, again, still had time on my pass. So I decided to go to Schobrunn Palace. Because it is the off season, I didn't buy my ticket in advance online. I just did it there at the palace. I would say if you're there during a busy time, buy it in advance, and you have to pick a time slot. So I took the metro from Central Station. Well, kind of. I had to switch to another metro to the palace. And I'm so glad that I took the time to go. So my recommendation is, even though you might do, there's 2 audio tours you can do, Imperial or Grand. Imperial is 22 rooms, Grand is 40 rooms. So if you're really into how royalty lived and history and all that, 40 rooms for me was worth it. It's about an hour. unless you take more time to look at details and just check it out. But I would plan for a good 2 hours for the entire thing, because you do the audio tour, but then you can walk around the gardens. And I actually walked around for an hour and a half or more, I believe it was. And I wanted to make sure that I got on public transit back to back to like the main area where everything was in Vienna before my pass expired. So I'm walking around, trekking around. I cannot believe that there was so much space. In fact, now it holds a zoo. There's a palm house where they have a green, more tropical vegetation. There are birds, there are butterflies, all kinds of things. And it's massive. Just in the time that I walked around, I only covered like a section. And there's something called the Gloriette that's up top of a hill, mirroring the palace at the very kind of end of the estate. And it's all fenced in, but it's open to the public during the day. So you see people running, people with strollers, walking, drawing, reading, picnicking, lots of things. And it's not the most beautiful right now because it's cold, but I'm sure in the spring, when it starts all blossoming, there's no way you can see through all of the vegetation. Right now you can, but I'm sure you can't then. So if you're going to do one big thing, I would say that's a pretty neat thing. So then I'm like booking it and to get to public transit and take it back to the center of Vienna. And by that time, it was almost 3 o'clock. So I just walked my little legs off. To be honest, I thought my legs were going to give out, because I walked, aside from being on public transit for a short time, which I stood most of that time. I think I only took a couple of brief sitting breaks from the time I left Central Station to head to the palace to the time I got back to Central Station to like get my stuff to get on the night jet. So my legs were sore and my feet were really killing me, honestly. Even the next day, after propping them up, they were pretty sore. So my little legs, I walked all the way around the ring of Vienna. So you can see all the major things like Hero Square, the Parliament Building, Town Hall. I did not end up going ice skating because by the time I had walked several hours, I was not about ice skating. But I did kind of check it out from a distance. And I wanted to get some better pictures of things because during the walking tour, it was kind of a large group. So I got some better photos. And then at like 4 o'clock, it was almost 4 o'clock, and I was like, what else am I going to do? Well, I was really close to the Vienna Spanish riding school, and I do like horses, so why not? It is a little expensive, but if you are into that kind of thing, it was worth it. I asked probably 30 questions. That is the most questions I have asked on all the tours combined that I've taken. I usually ask 1 or 2 questions. Yeah, I asked like 30. About so many things. I just was so interested. Because these horses live for a very long time, like 30 years. One horse lived to be 40. And it's several years before they're actually put into use, even more than that. So these horses, when they're born, they're brown, black, gray, and they turn white with age, some of them sooner than others. And it's the age of 5 that they're chosen as part of the training for performances, and then they work with them for another 5 to 8 years before they're utilized, or more. And most horses don't know all of the like tricks or things. They become specialists. Very rare that you have a horse that can do almost all the movements. So they need 20 to 30 horses for a performance, I believe they said. And there's like 160 horses working for the Spanish riding school with the performances, because they switch them out on a regular basis. But there was about 60 horses at the complex. I'll call it a complex. The original building. Every 2 months, 20 horses are switched out at a time, I think it was. And they're on a rotation so that they get time out in the pastures. There are no pastures in Vienna, and so the way horses are exercised, and they're all stallions, all of them. The way that they're exercised is with a walker. So a ring, if you don't know anything about horses, it's a ring, and it's enclosed. And there's these rubber paddles, basically, and a horse fits between those, and 19 horses can be put in the ring at a time. It's the largest one in Europe, I think is what they had said. And they walk for an hour, which is, I think she said, they go around about 40 times in that hour. And it's about 23 meters once around. And yeah, I asked things like, how much feed on occasion do they go through? And it differs depending on their age and their performance level. Like if they perform more or perform less. They do make the training riding saddles and tack in-house. There are white ones that are special, and those are, sorry, the tack is made in-house. The saddles are purchased from one of 2 companies based on the rider's preference. And then there are white saddles for performances, and those are formed to each horse. So like they take this big deal. And this is a tradition that has been continuing since the reign of the Habsburgs. And I think that's maybe why I was so interested in it, because it is something that is still happening in current day that was happening then. And the training is not written anywhere. So the trainer's working with the horses. It is passed down by word of mouth. It's not written anywhere. That is the tradition. And the performances that the horses do, it's about the same. It's been the same for 100 or so years, I believe, is what the guide had said. So really, I know it seems strange, and it was something that I wasn't originally going to do. I was like, riding school is quite amazing. So Ferdinand was the one that had started the Spanish riding school. Why Spanish? It's because originally it was Spanish horses. Now it's I can't remember what exactly. I'm gonna butcher it. Leopoldese, because they were named based off of the village or town that the breeding happened. Now it's in Piber, is where it's done. So the brand that they use for the horses now has a P for Piber. Anyway, it is quite the process, all of it, and even though it was only an hour, I learned so much. Pretty fascinating to me, because again, it's a living history in a way. So there is the saying, it's Spanish to me. The Viennese say this, or Austrians say this, because Ferdinand was quite strange, and bringing in this whole Spanish riding school was a bit strange. So when something's strange, it's Spanish to me. So I thought that was pretty fun. Anyway, yeah, so I did that, and did a lot of walking. There's an additional video that I'll put together about my experience on the sleeper train, the night jet. But that's pretty much the rest of Vienna. Feels like so long ago. I'm so behind on these updates and posting pictures and everything. If I think of anything else, I'm sure I'll bring it up in a follow-up. But that is it for this one. So, auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss. Ciao.